Welcome. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Charlotte Piro. This is Romain Piro. And this is Daniele Lepori. And we are the team producing and bringing to you Olio Piro from Tuscany. Piro is not the only great olive oil in the US. There are others. Even that we feel we're pretty good and high on the, on the list, but we would like to give you a few advice on how to recognize in a store a good olive oil. And I'm going to hand it to Romain.
So yeah, as you can see on this slide, very often people are asking, so okay, it's great, you're doing something amazing, but now when I go to the shop, how do I recognize an oil which was properly made and bottled and taken to me? So I always give this example. Olive oil is a very fragile product, and I very often take the example, the comparison with wine. So I said, you would never buy a bottle of red wine, supposed to be high quality red wine, in a transparent bottle, a glass or plastic or whatever, but even transparent, because the light would really damage it. So it's the same with olive oil. So you want an olive oil which is kept in a very dark container, and glass is really the best way to keep either wine, either olive oil. So you want a dark glass bottle. And of course, on this bottle, there is few things you really need to know. So you want to know when this oil was made, because as we said before, even if now we reach a point where our oil lasts quite long, but it's not the case of the majority of olive oil. And you want to know this oil was made during the last harvest season. So you need the date of harvest on the bottle.
So what's the difference between date of harvest and bottling date? Because a lot of bottles have a bottling date. Is it good enough?
No, because of course you can make the oil and store it, and then you bottle it, and you don't know how long it was stored, and this is not an indication you need. So you want written on it date of harvest. And of course, you want to know what you're drinking. So if it's a good quality red wine, you want to know which castle, which property, which clos, where it's from, and so who made it, and what kind of grapes are inside. This is the same with olive oil. You want to know the origin of the olives, the name, the type of olives, and if it's a blend, if it's a monocultivar, and the country of production. So you might not want to a mix of olives from many different countries, maybe, because it's almost impossible to reach a high quality and working perfectly in this way. So this is how to recognize a bottle in a shop. That's the 3 points that really helps you to know if you have something serious in hand.
So let's look a little bit at the Piro bottle for a minute. So it looks like Piro bottle is bringing as everything we're looking for here, and more. And we're going to go back to the fact that it's very important for us to bring you an oil that tastes exactly the same from the meal to your table. So in addition to everything we spoke about, we have a very specific antioxidant cap that allows us to keep the oxygen away after you have opened the bottle for the first time. So it minimizes the oxygen flow, and that also will prevent the oil from degrading during the time your bottle is open and you're using it in your home. So Piro has 750 milligram of polyphenol per kilogram, which is very, very high. And we have 83% oleic acid. Our acidity is how much, Romain?
Quanto eravamo di acidità quest'anno?
Non abbiamo raggiunto lo 0,2.
0.2%.
Below 0.2. Below.
Okay. There's also something very specific with our bottle, which is it is made of vetri speciali, which is a very specific glass made in the province of Trentino, and that is a glass that is of course tempered, that is anti-UV, but most of all it is also anti-phthalates, which means no residue from the glass could even ever translate to the olive oil, and we are very, very proud of this. Our bottle is just beautiful. And of course, you will find on our bottle our harvest date, which is always November of the year. And our oil is good for 18 months, even October. And our oil is good for 18 months from the date of harvest. And we are very proud to tell you that from day 1 to the 18th month, it will have exactly the same properties, and it will be just as delicious as it was the first day. And finally, of course, our olives are 100% Italian. Most of them come from Tuscany, but we do source out some specific olives as well, just to keep the oil as delicious as possible.
What I find is that the aroma on this is unlike anything that I've ever smelled for an olive oil. Typically, I mean, feeling like this is freshly cut. You know, you can smell the grassiness of this. It has such a beautiful smell and aroma here. I just have never experienced anything like that in an olive oil, and I think that that is something to be, you know, very, very proud of. But also, it's exceptional. So, you know, in using olive oils, we have a lot of very, very different things that we can do, and I think that the application of being able to use it in a recipe and also as a finishing oil is a really good attribute as well. One of my favorite things is a marinated feta. And so I did that with this, and I have to tell you that I like it, but it's just so exceptional with the olive oil because it really brings out all of the flavors. I'm using a barrel aged from Greece, and I'm using a French sheep's milk. And I have to say is that it's bringing out even more of the flavors and richness, and there's a nice balance. You know, when you want the cheese and you want the recipe to be enhanced, but you don't want it to be overpowered. And I think that that's what this comes across. It really brings out the herbs. With the grassiness that this has, the herbs just explode. And I've never had that before in olive oil. So I think that's just such a fantastic experience, you know. And
that's a great idea.
And you know, with the fetas, it just makes it so versatile. And you know, you can add that, put it on, bake it on a chicken, bake it on fish, just put it on French bread. And I found that it works really well with just a simple Chianti, a little Sangiovese, or a Pinot Grigio. But I did find that the beer also works very well with it. And the carbonation helps cut it just a little bit, but you know, there's a sweetness. This is a Belgian white, and so it doesn't have a lot of hoppiness, but it really brings in some wheat. So it's like adding a little bread to it, and they go absolutely perfect together. So cheers.
Cheers to you.
Una cosa?
Of course.
I would like to say something.
La valutazione nei concorsi dell'olio ha dei parametri identici ai concorsi per la birra.
So the way the olive oil are tested and judged and paneled are the same. Actually, they use the same technique as the one they use for beer contest.
Chi è un grande intenditore di birra di qualità
So who is a specialist and really knows and understands about high quality beer
riconosce in un istante un olio di altissima qualità.
will instantly recognize a high quality extra virgin olive oil because using exactly the same technique of tasting.
Grazie davvero.
So thank you very much. We are very glad to hear that.
In my recipe, I usually add a little bit of peppercorn to it, but because this has a natural spiciness to it, it actually doesn't need that. You know, I can use less herbs in this recipe because the olive oil does all the hard work.